Presets are a way to configure and customize the appearance of result. For example, presets control which column headers are visible in the grid and what the columns are named. They also control whether a column header can be expanded and collapsed like this. Up here, you can see which preset is selected. That means, if you choose a different preset, then the grid configuration will change accordingly. This video teaches you how to use presets in Result. You'll learn how to create a new preset and structure the XML configuration file. You'll also learn how to use presets in the Result test grid. Okay, let's get started. Navigate to Configuration and then to Presets. If your system already contains any existing presets, then you'll see them here. Click on New to create a new preset. Up here, select the contact person who is responsible for the preset, and select a discipline such as crashworthiness, fatigue, or pedestrian safety. Okay, this main part of the screen is where you'll enter the actual XML configuration file. You can either click on this button to upload an XML file that has been prepared for you, or you can enter your own XML directly into the editor. Here I'm entering the very minimum XML required, so we can look at a basic example and see how it's structured. These tags mark the beginning and end of the preset. All the other tags are included within it. These tags here define the preset's name and its version number. You're free to enter any name and version number. Just keep in mind that users will be able to see this information when they select a preset. This area here is where the preset specifies which columns should be displayed in the grid. There is one pair of column tags for every column displayed. Since I only have one pair of column tags here, the grid only displays one column. If I add a second pair of column tags, the grid will display a second column. You'll notice that the columns are completely empty right now. If I add an attribute tag here, then the column will display a specific attribute. Namely, it will display whichever attribute I specify here inside the ISO code tag. And just as a side note, you can look up the attribute's ISO code by navigating to the MDM attributes area and looking at the identifier column. This is where you'll find the attribute's unique identifier. To improve readability, you can also give each column a custom label. Once you've got the hang of it, continue adding further columns the same way. It's also possible to create nested attributes by adding a column tag within another column tag. This is what the test grid looks like if you add nested columns. The column header can be expanded and collapsed like so. Now let's look at a different example. This XML file contains multiple tables. Each table is created with a pair of list tags. So here in the XML file, you can see that we have a default table, then table 2 and table 3. Tables are a way to define multiple grid configurations within the same preset. So here in the default table, I can add columns. And I can add columns here in table 2 and in table 3. This is useful, for example, if you want to define grid configurations for specific teams or for specific workflows within a preset. Users simply select the appropriate table here in the upper right corner. Next, let's talk about the scenarios area. Which scenarios are displayed here depends on which scenarios were defined in the preset. Let's see how this works. Scenarios are composed of two main tags, root and node. The root tag is the outer wrapper. Inside, there are one or more node tags. This is what the scenarios window looks like if you add just this one base node. Users can check and uncheck the scenario node. Doing so displays and hides tests in the grid. You might notice that this base node doesn't have a condition yet. That means it simply loads and displays every test. But scenarios are more meaningful when used as filters that control which tests are displayed in the grid. The basic idea is as follows. Tests have attributes. For example, a test might relate to a specific directive. Scenarios can have conditions, which are based on test attributes. For example, a condition might be to only display those tests that relate to certain directives. Let's look at an example XML file with a scenario and a condition. The scenario node is named ECE, and the ISO code directive is used as the test attribute. In the square brackets, you can see a list of regulations. In means that a test will be displayed in the grid if its directive value is in this list. So if a test has a directive value that's included in the list, Then the test will be displayed when users check the scenario node. One last thing to note is that scenario nodes can also be nested. That means you can define an entire scenario tree with multiple levels of filtering. The scenario tree has multiple node tags, similar to a tree with its branches. Okay, that gives you a solid foundation for understanding presets and how they're used in Result. If you want to explore the topic further, be sure to check out our user manual. It provides you with further information, such as a list of all the valid XML tags and tag attributes, examples for adding mathematical functions to your columns, and information on how to break up your preset into smaller bricks.